We have invented something completely new in the area of magnetics. We are not a materials company, but we've invented something completely new in magnetics where we can program the behavior of magnets. So we have what we call programmable magnets. Our co-founder is a scientist by the name of Larry Fullerton, who lives in Huntsville, Alabama. And interestingly, he's one of the great inventors of our time. He has 207 patents to his name. And working out of his home lab, he came up with this new invention. And so to demonstrate the two principles that really come together in this, I'm going to use this magnet here that we call hover field. And so instead of doing what you'd expect all magnets to do, which is attract or repel, these magnets actually attract, but they don't come all the way together. We've programmed the behavior so that they're repelling at the same time they're attracting. Completely novel behavior for magnets. So people ask us, what are the applications of programmable magnets? And one application is this. We have these two magnets that aren't touching, and yet they interact like gears. And if you put this on top, which is called magnetic viewing film, which is something you can just buy off, it's off the shelf, you can see what we've done, where we've programmed them so that they're interacting like cogs in a gear. And so if you take the concept of magnets that aren't touching with gears, frictionless gears, we're actually currently with an SBIR grant scaling this up for the US Navy. And so the idea of frictionless gears is obviously very interesting for a lot of purposes. We're working in an area that some people call smart manufacturing. We have magnets that only come together in one way. So imagine going and getting a bookcase from a company that sells it to you in parts and bringing it home, and essentially it only coming together in one way, because the magnets, unlike other magnets, will only interact in one with their proper mate and in the right orientation. To give you a sense of how we're doing this, there's really two things that are coming together in these magnets that let us program them. So the first thing is our co-founder, Larry Fullerton, had an insight that turns out to be something that no one had ever thought before, which is that you can think of arrays of magnetism like waves, and that these arrays of magnets interact with each other like waves interact with each other, which is where waves come together and either cancel each other out or they're constructive or destructive. They make a peak or a trough. And it turns out that the same thing exists with magnets. So there's whole engineering libraries full of textbooks in this area of signal processing where the math and theory actually applies to magnets. And no one had thought about that before. So in order to be able to experiment with these new concepts, he went down the path to invent a new way of magnetizing magnets. So instead of magnetizing a magnet with the way that we currently do it, which is with, where you end up with one north or one south, or a very simple just alternating set of poles, he invented the way to spot magnetize a magnet in any pattern. And so what you can see if you look at this magnet here is this magnet has 100 norths and souths on it. This other magnet has the mirror image of that, and these magnetic elements were put down intentionally to cancel out the attract in the near field and cancel out the repel in the far field. So what you're left with is this hovering behavior where it attracts until a certain distance and then it's got a stable equilibrium point and then it's repelling. And so once you have these two concepts, the ability to calculate how to put down codes or patterns of magnetic elements, and then the ability to what we call print them or magnetize them. We call them printing because we can put it down like you do printing, like in a dot matrix printer or the like. You have the ability to program the behavior of a magnet. So I'll show you another demonstration. This is one we call repel snap, which is the inverse of the one that I just showed you with the hovering. So it's clearly repelling, but when you get it to the right distance, it reverses direction and it attracts. We have tables full of these demos, and we consider these behaviors building blocks. So you can, say I want, a little bit of this behavior, a little bit of that behavior in this size, and with these forces involved, and we can create, magnets that behave in very novel ways. So, again, bottom line, Larry Fullerton and correlated magnetics research. We've invented a new way to magnetize magnets, a new way to think about magnets interacting, and the end result is the ability to program the behavior of magnets. Up to this point, we've been working in the area of government-funded research grants. As mentioned before, an example of that is we have a SBIR from the Navy, and we have other grants, some of which we can't talk about. And we're also doing work in the commercial world. Everything we do is under NDA at this point, so very large companies in a variety of fields. Consumer electronics, aerospace, hardware, i.e. like Lowe's and Home Depot, many different areas. And the applications are really very varied across many industries. We're building a licensing business because of how varied the opportunities are. At this point, we have 79 issued patents, and we've gotten those in 5 years. In fact, it's been an incredible run through the patent office. The average length of time without us expediting our patent filings from submission to allowance is 12.7 months. We've had patents be allowed in as short as 4.5 months, which is really remarkable. But what we realize is that since this is a global opportunity with many, many industries, we're enabling our first outside partners. So we now have design, as an example, a design engineer you can go to who's skilled in our technology, who can do simulations and product design around this technology. So I've been in Austin since '96, and I worked with the inventor on a completely different project, a different company, 10, 12 years ago. Again, this is Larry Fullerton, our inventor, who lives in Huntsville, Alabama. So the company is headquartered in Huntsville, and we have a 16-person company at this point, 13 of which are in Huntsville, and there's 2 of us in Austin. So we use Capital Factory as a kind of a remote base for the 2 of us, and it's been terrific.